27 years ago, the moon slid over the sun above Europe, and at midday, the sky went dark. People wept. This August, it happens again. A rare total solar eclipse, the same shadow sweeping across Europe a full generation later. And that's only half the story. On August 12th, the sun goes black at 20-degree Leo. 16 days later, the moon dims at 5 degrees Pisces. You come for the whole story of both. So here it is. What an eclipse really is, whether these two land on your chart degree by degree, a full sign by sign walkthrough, and the rule beneath it all, plant then prune. If this is your kind of sky, subscribe and stay close. Now, before we get into these two in particular, it helps to know what an eclipse is, because once you see the mechanism, the meaning falls out of it naturally. The moon circles the earth on a path that is tilted slightly against the sun's path. Those two paths cross at just 2 points in the sky, and astrologers call those crossing points the moon's nodes. Most new moons and full moons happen a little above or below that crossing, so nothing dramatic occurs. But roughly twice a year, the sun, moon, and earth line up exactly on the nodes. And that exact alignment is an eclipse. So, an eclipse is simply an ordinary lunar event turned all the way up. A solar eclipse is a new moon sitting right on a node. The moon slides directly in front of the sun and switches off the light. A new moon is always a fresh start. A solar eclipse, it's a supercharged fresh start, a doorway. It plants seed you will be growing for months. A lunar eclipse, it's a full moon sitting right on a node. The earth slides between sun and moon and drops its shadow across the moon's face. A full moon is always a culmination. A lunar eclipse, it's a supercharged culmination, a release. Something crests, completes, and falls away. 3 things set eclipses apart from a normal new moon or full moon. They feel fated. Events seem to arrive at you rather than being chosen. They are accelerated. What might take a year to shift can move in a week. And they are long. An eclipse is not a single day, but a story that unfolds over roughly 6 months, and you often feel it for weeks before and weeks after the date itself. If something has felt like it is quietly building or coming loose in the run-up to August, that is the eclipse already at work. One more thing makes this particular pair matter. The whole eclipse axis, the line those nodes draw across the zodiac, had just shifted into Leo Aquarius. The North Node, the collective compass that points toward where we are, all being asked to grow, moved into Aquarius in late July, dragging the South Node into Leo opposite it. That means every eclipse for the next year and a half lives on this Leo Aquarius line. Grow toward community, the future, and the collective. Release the need for personal applause. August solar eclipse is the very first one to land on that new axis. If you want the full story of the North Nodes moving to Aquarius, that has its own dedicated video. It's in the link in the description below, so you can watch it there. Now, let's have a look at the total solar eclipse. eclipse of August 12th at 20 degrees Leo. August 12th, 2026 at 1846 UTC. The new moon lands dead on the node at 20 degrees Leo, and the moon passes fully in front of the sun. This is a total solar eclipse. Obscuration complete. The disk switched entirely off, and its path of totality is a rare one. The moon's shadow sweeps across Greenland, Iceland, and northern Spain, with a large partial eclipse visible from Ireland and the UK. Total solar eclipses touch any given stretch of Europe only a handful of times a century, which is exactly why this one carries extra weight. This is the 1999 Echo, Europe's last comparable totality. So if you were in Europe on August 11th, 1999, you may remember the sky going dark in the middle of the day. That famous total solar eclipse fell at 18 degrees Leo and drew its shadow across mainland Europe, Cornwall, France, Central Europe, and it was the last comparable total solar eclipse over Europe. Now, 27 years later, an eclipse lands again over Europe at almost the same degree of the same sign. 2026 falls just 2 degrees from where 1999 struck. This is a genuine degree echo. The same Leo degree zone lighting up again, a generation on. To be precise, for the astrology minded, it is the same patch of the Leo sky, not the same eclipse family. The two August eclipses of 1961 at 18 degrees Leo and 1980 at 18 degrees Leo are the closer 19-year cousins in the same degree zone. Whatever chapter of your life 1999 opened, this eclipse rhymes with it. A theme from 27 years ago returning to be lived at a new level. Now, this is a releasing eclipse because the south node side of the axis. So here is the subtlety that shapes everything. With the north node now near the very end of Aquarius, the south node sits in Leo, and this eclipse falls on the Leo south node side of the line. The south node is the side we are asked to release. The comfortable old pattern we learn on too hard, or we lean on too hard. In Leo, that pattern is ego, pride, and the hunger to be seen and approved of. So although this is a new moon and a beginning, its deepest instruction is a letting go. Stop performing for approval. Stop needing the spotlight to feel real. And grow toward the Aquarian opposite, where you belong to a community, contribute to something larger than yourself, and shine with people rather than at them. The beginning this eclipse offers is the beginning that starts after you put that need down. Now, there is another headline here. What is it that the sky adds? Because Saturn builds it and Jupiter blesses it. Two of the big planets are in conversion with the eclipse degree. And they are both unusually helpful. Let's have a look at the video for this. Let's have a look at the chart. All right, so two of the big planets are in conversation with the eclipse degree, and they are both unusually helpful. Saturn trines the eclipse. Saturn is here at 14 degrees and 30 minutes Aries. This is a flowing 120-degree angle with an orb of 5.5 degrees. Saturn is the planet of structure, patience, and things that last. And a trine is its supportive face. This is the single most important ingredient here. It means this beginning is buildable, not a firework that flares and dies. A foundation you can lay brick by brick, an idea that can be turned into a plan that can be turned into something real. Eclipses often feel chaotic. Saturn hands this one a spine. Now, let's have a look at Jupiter. Jupiter is at almost 10 degrees. Loosely conjoins the eclipse at 9 degrees, 30 minutes, 33 minutes Leo. It's a wide same sign meeting, roughly 10 degrees apart. Jupiter, its expansion, generosity, and blessing, and it is sitting in Leo with the eclipse, pouring optimism and growth on top of everything the moon plants. Where Saturn says make it solid, Jupiter says make it big. Between them, you get the rare combination of a beginning that is both ambitious and grounded. Now, let's see what a Leo eclipse plans. Leo rules the heart in every sense. This eclipse opens doorways in the Leo department of life, identity and how you show up in the world, creativity and self-expression, romance, children, play, leadership, and courage. The willingness to be fully, visibly yourself. The seeded plants, it's a braver version of you. The creative project you have been too self-conscious to start. The love you have been too guarded to reach out or reach for. The leadership role you have been waiting to feel ready for. What to plant now? The thing that would make your heart bigger if you let yourself begin it. Start it not to be applauded, but because it is genuinely yours. The seed, now, this is the interesting part. It gets watered 3 times. Why am I saying that? This is the detail that tells you that this eclipse is not a one-day event. Jupiter, the planet of growth and luck, recrosses 20 degrees of Leo, the exact eclipse degree, 3 more times over the following year. Around October 6th, 2026, the first time. Then again around February 28th, 2027, next year, February 28th. And then one more around June 3rd next year, 2027. Each pass relights the point the eclipse switched on. So whatever you begin in August gets watered 3 times across the next 10 months. Expansion returning to the same spot again and again. Plant carefully in August. You will be tending this particular garden well into 2027. Now let's have a look at the partial lunar eclipse, August 28th, 5 degrees Pisces. This I call the surprising release. So, 16 days after the doorway opens, the other kind of eclipse closes the door. On August 28, 2026, a partial lunar eclipse falls at 5 degrees Pisces. A full moon caught on the node with the sun opposite it at 5 degrees Virgo. 4 degrees, 52nd minutes, 5 degrees. Where a solar eclipse plants, a lunar eclipse reaps. Something crests, completes, and it's pulled loose. And this one does not come quietly. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, we have the T-square, which is why this release jolts. So the full moon does not stand alone. It is locked into a three-way tension called a T-square. The sky's version of being pulled hard in two directions while a third force shoves the whole arrangement sideways. Now, the moon at 5 degrees Pisces is opposed by the sun and Mercury at 5 degrees Virgo. Mercury almost to the minute. Feeling versus fact. The dream versus the to-do list. Pulling directly against each other. And both ends are squared by Uranus at 5 degrees Gemini. The planet of shocks, sudden truth, and the unexpected. Uranus is the reason this release arrives as a surprise. A realization that will not wait. A truth blurted. A situation that cracks open before you had scheduled it. With Mercury, the mind and the voice, sitting right on the tension, it is intensely mental and verbal. Words said, messages sent, something named out loud that changes the picture. Expected to feel disruptive, over quickly and clarifying once the dust settles. Now, let's have a look at the 2007 return, because we have a story here exactly 19 years old. This eclipse is a clean metonic return, the 19-year cycle in which eclipses recur on nearly the same calendar date at nearly the same degree. So on August 28, 2007, a total lunar eclipse fell at 4 degrees 47 minutes at 5, almost 5 degrees Pisces, the same date, essentially the same degree, precisely 19 years earlier. Whatever was releasing or completing in your life in late August 2007, this eclipse is its next chapter. Cast your mind back. The theme that was ending then is the theme being finished now. What the Pisces eclipse releases in general. So this is the Pisces Virgo axis and its whole argument is surrender versus control. Pisces is dreams, faith, compassion, imagination, the spiritual and the boundaryless. Virgo is duty, order, analysis, health, and the practical. The eclipse asks you to let go of the Pisces side. Release what you have been clinging to, controlling, or overmanaging. The worry you keep rehearsing, the grip you keep tightening, the thing you have been trying to fix by force when it wants to be surrendered instead. Because Virgo also rules the body and health, this is often where the release shows up physically. Exhaustion, asking to be honored, a routine that needs to end, a rest you have been refusing yourself. What to release now? The dream that has quietly died and needs a proper goodbye, or the control you are holding that is costing you more than it is protecting. Let the tide take it. Now, If we read these two eclipses side by side, August's two eclipses form a single elegant instruction, a full breath in and out. The solar eclipse on August 12 plants, a bold Leo beginning, a doorway, a seed to grow. The lunar eclipse on August 28 prunes, a Pisces release, a completion. A branch to cut so the plant can put its strength where it belongs. Begin, then let go. That is the shape of the month, and it is no accident the sky arranged it in that order. You are meant to open the new chapter first, then clear away what the new chapter has no room for. And between the two, the sky is quietly building. On August 31st, Jupiter trines Saturn, growth shaking hands with structure, the aspect of solid, sustainable expansion. So the fortnight runs. You plant August 12th, you build the Saturn trine Jupiter climax on August 31st, pouring the foundations, and release August 28th. The eclipses shake the tree and the trine rewards whatever held. One structural point is worth holding on to. Leo and Pisces are 7 signs apart, not opposite, not neighbors, but at an angle. That means in your chart, the two eclipses fall in 2 different houses, 2 different areas of life. This is not one situation beginning and ending. It is a begin here, a release there arc. A new chapter opening in one corner of your life while in a quiet, separate corner, something is being set down. The section that follows walks you through exactly which 2 corners. Rising, I will start rising by rising sign. Of course, for a second and third layer of interpretation, also watch your moon, your sun and your moon sign. So we'll see where you plant and where you prune. Now, if you want to know if this eclipse is hitting your chart, I will, when I go into the sign by sign, I will try to explain the aspect your ascendant, sun, or moon sign is making to the eclipse, any of the 2. But an eclipse does not affect only the sign it lands in. From its degree, 20 degrees, for example, for the solar eclipse, it fires aspects, angles of a set number of degrees, clear across the zodiac. So any natal planet, of course, and your ascendant, your rising sign, your midheaven, your career point, or lunar node, sitting near one of those activated degrees is being spoken to directly, whatever your sun or moon or sun sign is, or rising. So the Leo eclipse can light up a planet in Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra just as surely as it lights up in Leo itself. And the closer the degree, the louder the message. A planet within a degree or 2 of the exact point feels the eclipse like a personal phone call. One that is 5 or 6 degrees away barely hears it ring. So that's kind of the impact. And I will go through sign by sign. I'll tell you exactly what the impact is for each of the signs. But in order for you to see if any of the other natal planets are making aspects to this eclipse, go onto my ivastrology.com site. Have your calendar, if you don't already have it, log in and have your own calendar done, and then go into it and see what are the natal planets are influencing. your chart. Now, let's have another look at the orb intensity. So how close it's close enough, right? So orb is simply the gap measured in degrees between the eclipse point, 20 degrees in this case, and your natal planet. So it is the volume dial, right? Now, between 0 and 2 degrees away, this is extremely powerful and direct. This is a bullseye. So expect the eclipse's themes to show up as an actual event in that area of life, not just a mood. If it's in between 2 to 5 degrees away, it is still strong and clearly felt, so you will know it landed. It's a noticeable shift, a decision, a conversation, even if it is a shade less earth moving than a bullseye. And then if it's more than 5 degrees away, this would be considered out of orb for personal impact. So the eclipse is speaking to someone else's chart, not this point of yours. Again, how to check? Pull up your natal chart on my ivastrology.com site and go into your personal calendar. And in there, it will tell you immediately what other natal planets are making aspects and when to the solar eclipse. Now let's have a look. Very high level, what it means by aspect, right? So if the eclipse touches one of your planets, once you found a hit, right? When you looked in the astrology calendars on IV Astrology and you found that there is a hit, in the calendars, of course, there's going to be an explanation, but this is how to enrich that explanation. So the aspect tells you the flavor of the encounter. So, and this holds actually for both eclipses, right? So if there is a conjunction, so for the Leo eclipse, obviously the conjunction, it will be with Leo. Basically, the eclipse sits right on top of your planet. This is the most direct contact there is, a total rebirth of that planet's themes, usually at the level of a real life event. If the Leo eclipse conjuncts your natal Venus, your whole approach to love or money can restart from scratch. A relationship begins, a value system flips, a fresh chapter opens with the bang. If it's an opposition, the eclipse sits across the zodiac from your planet, facing it down. This brings a culmination and very often another person, a mirror, a reckoning. Something that has been building finally comes to a head. An eclipse opposing your natal moon might surface a family matter or a relationship truth that will no longer stay quiet, for example. If it's a square, the eclipse forms a hard 90-degree angle. This is crisis into action. It is friction that forces a decision. Uncomfortable, a little destabilizing, but genuinely catalytic. An eclipse squaring your natal Mars, for example, can feel like being backed into a corner until you finally make the move you have been avoiding. If it's a trine, this is a flowing 120-degree gift. The eclipse's energy supports that planet with ease, opening a lane rather than a fight. An eclipse trining your natal Jupiter, for example, can drop an opportunity in your lap that simply works. No wrestling required. Though you still have to say yes. And if it's a sextile, this is a 60-degree door that opens only if you walk through it. The opening is real, but the initiative has to be yours. Sit still and it quietly closes. An eclipse sextiling your natal Mercury, for example, might hand you the perfect chance to send the message or pitch the idea. But nothing happens unless you actually hit send. And now, with that in mind, what it means by planet. So, which planet is being hit? And the planet the eclipse touches tells you which room of your life the change happens in. So if it's your sun, it's identity and life direction of reborn. Who you are and where you are heading gets a reset, a career pivot, a name you finally claim. If it's your moon, emotions, home and family surface and heal. Feelings you have been sitting on come up to be felt and dealt with. So a family talk, a mood that really finally lifts. If it's your natal Mercury, a message, a contract, a big realization, news arrive, a deal is signed, or a penny drops that changes how you think about something. If it's your Venus, love, money, and values shift. A relationship turns a corner, finances rearrange, or you suddenly want different things, a reconciliation, a raise, a change of taste. If it's your natal Mars, drive, courage, or a fight. Energy spikes. You launch the project, confront the person, or push through a wall you had been stuck at. If it's your natal Jupiter, this is a growth or luck window. Doors of opportunity, expansion, travel, or study swing open. A genuine chance to grow bigger. If it's your Saturn, your natal Saturn, structure, duty, and commitment reorganized. You take something on or set it down for good. A commitment made, a responsibility restructured, a boundary drawn. If it's your natal Uranus aspecting the eclipse, sudden freedom or awakening, an out of nowhere break for liberty. You quit, you leave, you wake up to a truth and change course overnight. If it's your Neptune, natal Neptune aspecting the eclipse, it's a dream, a calling, or an illusion that dissolves. Something spiritual or creative opens up, or a rose-tinted story finally clears and you see it straight. If it's your natal Pluto, this is deep power and transformation, a profound, often intense change from the roots up, a death and rebirth in some area, a reclaiming of your own power. If it's your ascendant or midheaven, it's a visible change others can see. Your appearance, your reputation, or your career takes a turn the outside world actually notices. A new look, a new title, a public shift. Now, before we move into sign by sign interpretation, let's have a final look at historical and future connections of this eclipse. So, the Leo 20 degrees point this solar eclipse lights up. It's not fresh ground. The sky has been here before and recently. On August 11, 1999, a total solar eclipse swept across mainland Europe at 18 degrees Leo, just about 2 degrees away from this one, and 27 years earlier. Millions stood in its shadow across Cornwall, France, and Central Europe. It was the last comparable total solar eclipse over Europe until now. So this is a degree echo in the same Leo zone, not the same family of eclipses. That 1999 eclipse opened an era, the turn of the millennium. the dawn of the connected internet age, a whole new chapter of how the world spoke to itself. So this is a reflection prompt. Think back. What was beginning in your life in August 1999? A move, a relationship, a job, a version of yourself stepping into the stage? Whatever seed was planted then rhymes with what is being planted now. The degree even has older cousins. The August eclipse of 1961, it was at 18 degrees Leo, and the 1980, 18 degrees Leo, fall in the same Leo degree zone. So this is the 19-year metonic cousins. The metonic cycle is the roughly 19-year rhythm on which eclipses return to nearly the same spot on nearly the same days. This stretch of Leo sky has been handing out new beginnings for generations, and this seed will not stay buried. Jupiter, the planet of growth, luck, and blessing, recrosses 20 degrees Leo 3 times over the following year. On October 6, 2026, February 28, 2027, and June 3rd, 2027. Each pass relights the exact eclipse degree, giving whatever you begin on August 12 3 fresh bursts of expansion across the next 12 months. Mark those dates. They are built in follow-up chapters to this eclipse story. And the Pisces lunar eclipse of August 28 carries an even cleaner echo. It is a precise Masonic return of the total lunar eclipse of August 28, 2007. The same calendar date, nearly the same degree, exactly 19 years earlier. So again, reflection prompt for you here. What were you releasing in the autumn of 2007? What ending? What letting go? What emotional tide was going out then? This eclipse completes a chapter of that same Piscean story. The same wave, one full cycle later. Grief that softened, a person you outgrew, a dream you set down. The moon is asking whether the last of it is finally ready to leave. All right, so now I will go into the sign by sign, your full story, the solar eclipse. So this is the heart of the eclipse, where its 20-degree Leo doorway opens in your life. Listen to your rising sign first. It is the most accurate. Then your sun sign as a second layer and your moon sign as a third layer. Each of them makes up a full story. The house the eclipse plants in. I will go through the 5 ways it may actually show up for you during the eclipse window, roughly 5th of August, 19th of August. How loudly you personally will feel it depending on your degrees, the supporting hand of Saturn and Jupiter, and the 3 future dates when Jupiter rewaters this exact seed, and what the August 28 lunar eclipse asks you to release. Hold one thing as you listen. The closer your own planet sits to 20 degrees, the more this lands as a real event. For you. The further away, the more it is a quiet months-long mood. Both are the eclipse working, just at different volumes. Aries. This is a bold, new creative chapter for you. This total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo on August 12th lands squarely in your 5th house, the bright beating room of creativity, romance, children, play, and pure self-expression. It makes a warm, trine to your Aries sun, moon, or ascendant. And a trine feels like a door that was always slightly ajar, suddenly swinging wide. No fight, no forcing, just a lane opening in front of you where things fall your way with ease. The one condition being that you actually say yes. What this eclipse plans here, it's a bold new creative chapter, a seed of joy that carries your own signature. I'm going to go through 5 possible ways that this may show up. Could be, these are the ones that I mostly can see happening, but obviously there are so many possibilities. So let's see. First, a creative project that you've shelved suddenly restarts. So you reopen the half-finished manuscript or the paints, the song, and it pours out of you in a single feverish weekend, August 5th to August 19th. This is Jupiter conjunct the eclipse in your 5th house, a total restart of the maker in you. Or a romance or spark arrives almost effortlessly. Someone slides into a conversation, a matched glance across the room, a message that lands at the perfect moment. The trine means you barely have to try. You just have to not talk yourself out of it. Or it can be news about a child, a pregnancy, a milestone, or a young person that suddenly needs your attention and gives your days new shape. It opens like a gift rather than a burden. Or you're invited to perform, present, or be seen. A stage, a gallery slot, a lounge, a chance to put your face and your voice on something. Say yes before the fear catches up. Or a hobby quietly becomes serious. The thing you did just for fun starts drawing money, followers, or a mentor, and you realize play might be the real work. So let's see how strongly you'll feel it. Degrees decide the volume. So if your ascendant or a personal planet sits within about 2 degrees of 20 degrees Aries or right on 20 degrees Leo in this 5th house, this eclipse is not a mood. It is an event. Something concrete happens this month. A project greenlit, a person appearing, a yes you say out loud that changes your calendar. A little fated, almost cinematic. If instead your rising degree falls in the early or late part of Aries, so far from 20 degrees, don't think it skips you. You feel it as a warm, slow burning atmospheric pull, a growing restlessness to create, to flirt, to play that ripens over the following months rather than in one dramatic week. Note any natal planet near 20 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally lit by this eclipse. So let's have a look at the supporting cast, as I call it, Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn is moving through your 1st house right now, 14 degrees Aries, and trines the eclipse. The way you make this seed real and lasting is by committing to it in your own body and your own name. Show up, put in the reps. Let your creativity become part of your identity rather than a passing whim. Meanwhile, Jupiter sits in your 5th house, right on the eclipse, pouring growth, luck, and abundance onto whatever you plant. And because this is Leo, south node side of the eclipse axis, the deepest instruction is subtle. Plant this not to be applauded, but because it is genuinely, unmistakably yours. Release the version of you that only wants to be seen, and the applause tends to come anyway. Now, let's have a look at the 3 rewaterings. These are your follow-up chapters of the eclipse. Jupiter will cross this exact 20 degrees Leo the first time on October 6th. So Jupiter will cross it 3 more times, each one relighting your 5th house. First time, October 6th, Jupiter is going to be at 20 degrees Leo. On this date, expect a second wind. The project of romance that you started in August becomes or comes back with fresh energy, or a first result lands. Then, around February 28th is when the second time Jupiter is going to be at 20 degrees Leo. An offer or opportunity from that seed matures into something real and negotiable. And around 3rd of June, so February obviously is 2027, it's next year, and then 3rd of June of next year, 2027, Jupiter again at 20 degrees, you will see the seed visibly grown. An audience, a partnership, a book of work, a child thriving. Mark these dates. This is your follow-up timeline. And then the pruning. 16 days later, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces on August 28th releases in your 12th house an old guilt, a private fear, or a quiet self-sabotaging pattern finally loosens its grip. The very thing that used to whisper, "Who are you to create this?" It clears just in time, so the solar seed has room to grow. So reflect on this. What would you make, or who would you love if you knew no one was keeping score? And do this. During the eclipse window, August 5th to 19th, spend 1 uninterrupted hour on the creative thing you keep postponing. And then say yes, one public yes that scares you a little. Taurus, this is a new foundation at the root of your life. This total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo lands squarely in your Taurus, in your 4th house. Your home, your family, your roots, the private ground, everything else in your life it's built on. In Leo, that ground wants warmth, pride, color, a place that actually feels like yours. But this eclipse throws a square to your sun, moon, or ascendant. And the square doesn't whisper, it presses. You will feel a real friction at the base of your life, a tension between how things have always been at home and how you now need them to be. And it will nudge you toward a decision you can't keep deferring. What the eclipse plants here, it's a brand new foundation, a fresh root system for the next chapter of where and how you live. 5 things it may show up. A move that can't wait any longer. A lease ends, a landlord sells, or a cramped space finally cracks, and the pressure forces you to commit to a new address you've been circling for months. A family conversation you have avoided comes to a head. A parent's needs, an inheritance question, or a sibling's tension pushes you to draw a line and choose your own footing. A renovation or repair you kept postponing suddenly demands action. A leak, a boiler, a wall, and fixing it becomes a doorway to reimagining the whole space. Or you feel a strong, uncomfortable pull to redefine what home base means, working from a different city, merging households, or finally claiming a room that is only yours. Or an old story about your childhood or your family surfaces and asks to be reparented. You decide consciously which pattern you carry forward and which one stops with you. So let's see how strongly you'll feel it. The exact contact point for you is 20 degrees Taurus on your ascendant. Sun or moon at a lesser degree, and a planet sitting right on 20 degrees Leo lands directly in this fourth house. If your rising degree or a personal planet falls within about 2 degrees of that, this eclipse is not a mood, it's an event. Keys change hands, a room empties or fills. A family decision becomes final, and you'll remember this month as the one the ground moved. If your degrees sit in the early or late part of Taurus, far from 20 degrees, you feel it instead as a slow burn atmosphere, a quiet restlessness at home, a sense that the foundations are shifting under you before anything visible happens. Neither version skips you. One arrives as news, the other as weather. And any natal planet near 20 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally lit up by this eclipse too. Now, let's have a look at the supporting cast, as I call it, Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn is moving to your 12th house, the realm of quiet discipline, closure, and inner work done out of sight. And it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. That means you make this new foundation real and lasting, not through noise, but through steady private commitment. The unglamorous paperwork, the honest solitude, the letting go you do where no one claps. Jupiter sits on your fourth house right along the eclipse at 9 degrees Leo, pouring growth and generosity straight into the seed. Home matters can expand faster and more warmly than you expect. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is this. Plan this not to be admired, but because it is genuinely yours. Release the version of home that just wants to be seen and impress. Build the one that actually holds you. Now, we're going to have the 3 rewaterings. So your follow-up chapters are these. Jupiter doesn't cross this point just once. It recrosses the exact 20 degrees Leo eclipse degree 3 times, relighting your 4th house each time. So watch for October 6, 2026. February 28, 2027, and June 3rd, 2027. The first return can bring a second wind on a home decision made this August, or the first tangible confirmation that your choice was right. The middle return often matures an offer, a place, an arrangement, a family agreement into something you can actually sign for. And the third feels like watching the seed grow above ground at last. The space settled, the household steadier, the roots visibly holding. Treat these as your future trigger timeline and keep them on your calendar. And then we have the pruning. 16 days later, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces on August 28 releases in your 11th house, a friendship or group you've quietly outgrown. Let it thin out on its own. The circle that no longer fits your new foundation is allowed to fall away without a fight. So reflect on this. What would home have to feel like for you to finally exhale in it? And which piece of that are you still waiting for permission to build? So do this during the eclipse window, roughly from August 5th to August 19th. Make one concrete, irreversible, in a good way move toward your foundation. Sign the paper, clear the room, book the viewing, or have the honest family conversation you've been rehearsing in your head. Gemini, your voice finds a new beginning. This total solar eclipse lands in your third house, the house of your voice, your mind, your everyday words, your learning, your short trips, and your siblings. And it lands there wearing Leo colors, bold, warm, wanting to be heard, wanting to create something that carries your signature. Because the eclipse makes a sextile to your rising sign, sun sign, or moon sign, it doesn't feel like a shove. It feels like a door swinging open, a crack, a genuine opening you can sense, but have to physically walk through. Nothing is handed over. It's offered. What this eclipse plants in you is a new beginning for how you speak and what you say, a fresh chapter for your ideas, your writing, your teaching, your one true voice. So let's have a look into some ways. What are the ways that this could show up for you? It could be a total restart around your voice that arrives as an actual event. You launch the newsletter, hit record on the first episode, or say the sentence out loud you've been rehearsing for a year, and suddenly it's real. Or it could be an easy, lucky opening in learning, a course you can suddenly afford, a mentor who answers, an invitation to write or present that drops into your inbox with your name already on it. It could be a door that opens through a message, a pitch you send half hoping gets a warm yes, or a stranger shares your words and a small audience appears where there wasn't one. It could be a sibling or a neighbor that brings a fresh start, a conversation with a brother, sister, or closest family friend reopens something, or a move across town rewrites your daily rhythm. It could be a short trip that becomes the turning point, a weekend away, a nearby city, a room full of people talking shop, and you come home with your next idea fully formed. How strongly you feel it? Well, degrees decide the volume. So if your ascendant or personal planet sits within about 2 degrees of 20 degrees Gemini, or right on 20 degrees Leo in this third house, the eclipse doesn't whisper. It arrives as a dated event this month, a real thing you can point to on a calendar. A lounge, a first draft finished, a conversation that changes the channel of your life. It will feel sudden, alive, slightly electric, like a held breath finally released. If instead your degrees sit in the early or late stretch of your sign, so far from 20 degrees, you feel it as a slow burn mood, a growing itch to be heard, a restlessness in how you communicate that builds quietly across the weeks rather than striking in a single afternoon. Both are real. Neither skips you. And note, any planet near 20 degrees Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally lit by this eclipse too. So let's see now. Let's have a look at how I call it your supporting cast. First, Saturn. Saturn is moving through your 11th house, your long game goals and your responsibilities to a group or a friendship. And it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. That trine is how the seed becomes lasting. So commit your new voice to something bigger than a mood. Join the community. Keep the promise to your people. Build the thing on a schedule. Jupiter sits at 9 degrees Leo with the eclipse right there, right here in your third house, pouring growth and confidence into every word you speak. But this is the Leo south node side of the sky, so the deepest instruction is quiet. Plant this not to be applauded, but because it is genuinely yours. Release the version of you that only wants to be seen, and the voice that remains will be the true one. Now, there will be also 3 rewaterings, so 3 follow-up chapters. Jupiter recrosses this exact 20-degree Leo point 3 times, and each pass it relights your third house. So first around October 6, 2026. The seed, Jupiter is here, 20 degrees Leo. This is when the seed catches a second wind. The idea you planted in August finds its momentum, its first real reader or students. Then the second time around next year, February 28, 2027. Again, Jupiter at around 20 degrees. This is an offer that matures, a paying gig, a byline, a collaboration that started as a chat becomes a commitment. And then the third time on June 3rd, 2027. You see it grow now. Your voice now has a shape, an audience, a body of work you can point to. Watch these dates. They are your future triggers of this eclipse. And then we have, as I call it, the pruning. So August 28. 16 days later, the Pisces lunar eclipse releases in your 10th house. This is where you let go of an old job title or a public identity that you've outgrown, the label that no longer fits the voice you just found. Loosen your grip on who you are supposed to be. It clears the stage for who you're becoming. Reflect on this. What is the one true thing you've been afraid to say out loud? And who quieted you? So do this. During the eclipse window, publish, send, or speak it. One post, one message, one recording, before you can talk yourself out of it. Cancer. A fresh start with money and worth. This total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo lands squarely in your second house, the house of money, income, what you own, and underneath all of it, what you believe you are worth. Leo brings its bold, warm spotlight energy here, asking you to value yourself out loud rather than quietly. Because the eclipse only makes a semi-sextile, so it's a minor aspect to your Cancer rising, sun, or moon, this does not arrive as a thunderclap. It feels like a quiet nudge and a slow adjustment. An odd little off timing tug that says something in how you earn and value yourself needs tweaking. What it plants here, it's a brand new seed of self-worth, a fresh financial chapter that begins in a whisper. So let's have a look at a couple of ways that this could show up for you. It could be a payment that lands at a strange hour, or an invoice you'd forgotten suddenly clears. A small, odd timing nudge that makes you rethink what your work is actually worth. Or you catch yourself undercharging a client mid-conversation, quietly adjust your rate on the spot, and feel the ground shift, a subtle tweak, not a fight. It could be a possession you own, a laptop, a car, a piece of gear that needs an unexpected fix, gently forcing you to reorganize your budget around what truly matters. Or it could be a side idea for extra income that you've shelved that starts murmuring again during that mid-August window, and you find yourself sketching numbers on the back of a receipt. Or it could be a friend casually mentions what they earn and it lands oddly. Not envy, just a quiet recalibration of your own number, a slow adjustment to your sense of enough. Now, how strongly will you feel this? Well, the degrees matters. They matter. If your Cancer ascendant, sun, or moon sits within 2 degrees of 20 degrees Cancer, or if you have a personal planet right on 20 degrees Leo in the second house, this eclipse arrives as an actual event this month, a real money movement, a raise, a bill, an offer, something with a date attached that reorganizes your finances in real time. If instead your rising degree or sun or moon or any other planet sits in the early or late reaches of Cancer, so far from 20 degrees, you will feel this more as an atmospheric mood, a slow burning hum in the background, a growing sense over the weeks that your relationship to money and worth is quietly turning over. Nobody skips this. Some just feel it as weather rather than lightning. And any natal planet near 20 degrees of Leo Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally lit up by this eclipse too. So remember that. Now, let's have a look at what I call it, your supporting cast, starting with Saturn. It is moving through your 10th house, career, structure, authority, the responsibilities you carry in public. And it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. That means you make this money seed real and lasting by committing through your work and reputation. Raise your rate, take the title, own the responsibility, and let your public standing anchor your new worth. Jupiter sits at 9 degrees Leo, right alongside the eclipse in your second house, pouring growth and abundance straight into the seed. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is tender. Plant this not to be applauded, but because it is genuinely yours. Release the version of you that just wants to be earning or to be seen earning, and keep the version that simply knows its value. And now there are going to be 3 rewaterings of this eclipse, or follow-up chapters. Jupiter recrosses the 20 degrees Leo 3 times. And every time it does, it relights your second house. First, around October 6, 2026. Expect a second wind, a first result from the August seed, a client returning, a number climbing. Then, around February 28th, next year, 2027. Again, Jupiter at 20 degrees Leo. This is an offer or arrangement that matures. The raise formalizes. The side income proves itself. The worth you claimed gets confirmed on paper. And then, around June 3rd, 2027, you will see the seed grown visibly. A steadier, larger sense of financial ground beneath you. So mark these days. They are your future trigger timeline. And then, as I call it, the pruning. 16 days after the total solar eclipse in Leo, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces on August 28th releases in your 9th house. It asks you to let go of an outdated belief, worldview, or qualification, some old story about what you are allowed to earn or be. Loosen your grip there so the new money seed has room. The solar plant is still the star of this chapter. So reflect, where is my life? Where in my life have I been charging in money or energy less than I'm genuinely worth? So do this. During the eclipse window, roughly August 5th to 19th, name one real number out loud, a rate, a price, a savings goal, and write it down where you will see it daily. Leo, the eclipse lands directly on you. Of everyone under the sky, this one is yours. The total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo falls squarely in your first house, the house of your very self, your body, your face, your name, the whole way you walk into a room and are met by the world. And it does not glance off you. It conjuncts your rising sun or moon sign, a direct hit right on top of you. That feels like a passing weather system and more like standing in a doorway you have finally decided to walk through. A jolt, a clean intake of breath, the sense that a version of you just ended and a truer one is being handed the keys. What the eclipse plans here, it's a new self, a fresh identity, a redrawn silhouette, a total personal reboot. So let's see a couple of ways this may show up for you. It could be a total restart about you. You cut your hair, change your name on the door, or simply wake on the 13th knowing you are done pretending to be the old you. Friends say something's different before you say a word. Or it could be an event centered on your body or presence, a photo shoot, a new wardrobe, a health reset, or the day you finally step in front of the camera you have been hiding behind. It could be a lucky door that opens on your visibility, a mentor, a teacher, or faraway contact with the Saturn in your ninth trining that offers you a platform, a course to lead, a chance to be the face of something. Or it could be an invitation to lead. Someone hands you the front of the stage, the project spokesperson, the group's organizer, the one whose name goes first. Or it could be a quiet reintroduction. For example, you rewrite your bio, you update the profile picture, or introduce yourself in a room and hear your own new sentence land differently. Small act, seismic meaning. Now, how strongly will this be felt by you? Well, the degree is everything here. If your ascendant or sun or moon or a personal planet sits within about 2 degrees of 20 degrees Leo, roughly 18 to 22 degrees of rising sun or moon, this is not a mood. It is an actual event this month. Something concrete and dated, a beginning with a name and a face, and you will feel it in your body, a nervy, electric, unmistakable now. If instead your degrees sit in the early or late reaches of Leo, far from 20 degrees, the eclipse arrives as a slow burn atmosphere, a low hum under everything, a growing certainty that you are shedding a skin, ripening towards a change that fully lands in the months after rather than on the day. Nobody is skipped. You are simply on different clocks. And note, any natal planet near 20 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally lit by this eclipse too. So check your chart. Now, let's have a look at what I call your supporting cast. First, Saturn. Saturn is moving through your ninth house of disciplined study, teaching, and long-term belief, and it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. A warm, stabilizing handshake. This is how the seed becomes real and lasting. You make the new self credible by committing to something you learn, teach, or believe in. Enroll in the course. Keep showing up to the practice. Let a bigger philosophy give your reinvention a backbone. Now, Jupiter sits at 9 degrees Leo, right here in your first house with the eclipse, pouring growth, luck, and largeness straight into the new you. And the deeper instruction, because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, plan this not to be applauded, but because it is genuinely yours. Release the version of you that only wants to be seen and keep the version that simply wants to be true. And now there are going to be 3 rewaterings or your follow-up chapters. So Jupiter recrosses this exact degree 3 times, 20 degrees Leo, the degree of the eclipse. 3 times. And when it does, it relights your first house each pass. This is your future trigger timeline to watch. First, around October 6, 2026, this year. The new identity you seeded gets its first real test drive and proves it can walk. And then next year, around February 28, 2027, an offer or opportunity matures now. Something that was a hunch in August becomes a solid, visible thing others respond to. And then finally, around June 3rd, 2027, the third passing of Jupiter at 20 degrees, relighting again your house in the eclipse. The seed is unmistakably grown. You look back and barely recognize the person who stood in that August doorway. So mark these dates. And then finally, we have the pruning, as I call it. So 16 days after the total solar eclipse in August, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces releases in your 8th house on August 28th. This is where you loosen a control knot in shared money, a joint debt, or a fear of letting someone all the way in. As you become the new you, something old about who holds the purse strings or your grip on it, it's asked to soften. So reflect on this. If no one were watching and no one would clap, who would I still choose to become? So do this. During the eclipse window, August 5th to August 19th, change one visible thing about how you present yourself. A new photo, a new name on the profile, a new sentence you introduce yourself with, and let it be the first public act of the you that is arriving. Virgo, a seed planted quietly behind the scenes. This eclipse lands in your 12th house, the quiet room at the back of your chart. The house of rest, retreat, spirituality, and the hidden inner world where things begin long before anyone can see them. With the total eclipse blazing at 20 degrees Leo here, all that fierce Leo fire pours into your most private space. Dreams, solitude, the soul work you do when no one is watching. It touches your Virgo rising by a semi-sextile. This is a soft aspect, contact that feels subtle and almost secretive, more of a steering than a shout. You may not have words for it yet. What the eclipse plants is a seed that germinates in the dark first. A private beginning that will only surface into daylight much later. So some ways this can show up for you. It could be a dream or a half-formed idea that keeps returning during the eclipse window. And one gray morning, you finally write it down. A small, odd timing nudge that turns out to matter more than it looked. Or you could feel unusually tired and pull towards solitude around August 5th to August 19th. Instead of fighting it, you cancel one thing, sleep more, and something inside quietly resets. Or it could be an old private matter, a grief, a secret, a chapter you never closed, gently resurfaces, asking for a slight adjustment rather than a dramatic confrontation. Or you could start a hidden practice no one knows about it yet. Journaling, therapy, a meditation habit, a first page of a project you're not ready to name out loud. Or it could be a subtle intuition about a person or situation that arrives out of nowhere, faintly off in its timing, and asks you to trust it before you have proof. Now, how strongly you can feel it? Well, degree is everything here. So if your ascendant, sun, or moon, or personal planet sits within 2 degrees of Virgo, or right on 20 degrees Leo in this 12th house, the eclipse arrives as an actual event this month, a genuine turning inward, a dream that wakes you, a retreat you suddenly need, a private truth that lands with real weight. It will feel like a door opening in a room you'd forgotten you had. But if your degree fall in the early or late part of Virgo, far from 20 degrees, don't think it skips you. You feel it as a quieter atmospheric mood, a slow burn softness, a background hum of needing more rest and more silence that deepens across the weeks. Either way, it is working on you. And note, any natal planet near 20 degrees Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is also personally lit by this eclipse. Now, let's have a look at your supporting cast, as I call it, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your 8th house, shared finances, debt, discipline, and deep committed bonds. And it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. That steady support means you make this private seed real and lasting by getting honest and disciplined about intimacy and money, clearing a debt, deepening one committed bond, doing an unglamorous inner accounting that gives your soul work a solid foundation. Meanwhile, Jupiter sits in your 12th house right alongside the eclipse, pouring growth and generosity straight into what you plant in the dark. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is this: plant this seed not to be applauded, but because it is yours. Release the version of you that only wants to be seen. The real work here happens where no audience can reach. And now, there are going to be 3 rewaterings, as I call them. These will be your follow-up chapters, because Jupiter recrosses this 20 degrees Leo of the eclipse 3 times. And every time is relighting your 12th house. So the first time will be around October 6th this year. Expect a second wind of this eclipse. So practically the private thing that you began stirs again and asks for a little more faith. And then on February 28th next year, 2027, that will be the second pass of Jupiter at 20 degrees. This is when it matures. An inner practice starts paying off. A spiritual or creative offer quietly firms up, and you sense the seed has roots. And then finally, on June 3rd next year, so June 3rd, 2027, this is the third pass of Jupiter at 20 degrees, relighting the eclipse again. So you may finally watch it break the surface. What began invisibly becomes something you can name and perhaps begin to show. So mark these dates. They are your future trigger timeline. And then, as I call it, the pruning. 16 days after the solar eclipse in Leo, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces releases in your 7th house a one-to-one partnership that has reached a genuine turning point. Something in a close relationship comes to a head and asks to be either renewed or released. Let it clear what the quiet inner work of this month has already outgrown. Reflect on this. What am I building in private that I've been afraid to say out loud? And who am I really building it for? So do this. During the eclipse window, carve out 1 real hour of solitude, turn off every screen, and write down the seed you feel stirring. Then keep it to yourself for now. Libra, a new circle, a new future. This eclipse lands in your 11th house, the house of friends, community, networks, and the hopes you hold for the years ahead. With the sun and the moon meeting at 20 degrees Leo, this is a Leo-flavored territory. Warm-hearted gatherings, generous collaborations, the thrill of belonging to something bigger than yourself and being seen inside a crowd that actually gets you. The eclipse makes a sextile to your rising sign, your moon sign, or your sun sign. And a sextile does not knock down the door. It swings one open and waits. It feels like a true invitation. Not forced, not fated, just there, asking whether you will walk through. What it plants here, it's a new circle and a renewed sense of the future, the people and the goal you will grow toward. So, a couple of ways this may show up for you. It could be a friend forwards you an invitation to a group, club, or online community that suddenly feels like your people. You say yes almost before you finish reading it. Because this is a sextile, this is an easy, lucky door opening for you. Or it could be a networking event or a mutual friends party that puts one specific new person in front of you who becomes central to your next chapter. Again, being a sextile, it's an offered opening. Or it could be a long, vague dream that finally gets a name and the first date on the calendar. You write down the goal you've been circling for a year. This is the seed planted. Or it could be a group project or team you're part of that gets a bright green light and you're offered a bigger, more visible role within it. Again, because this is a sextile, this is a growth offer. Or it could be you quietly outgrow one social circle as a warmer one opens beside it. A gentle changing of the guard in who you spend your weekends with. This is a restart in your community. Now, how strongly will you feel it? Well, the degree, it's everything. So if your ascendant, sun or moon sits within 2 degrees of 20 degrees Libra, the exact contact point, or you have a personal planet right on 20 degrees Leo in this 11th house, the eclipse arrives as an actual event this month, a real name, a real invitation, a friendship or goal that visibly shifts inside these 2 weeks, and you can point to the date happened. If your rising degree, sun or moon, is early or late in Libra, so far from 20 degrees, don't assume it skips you. You feel it instead as a slow burn atmospheric mood, a quiet restlessness about who you spend time with, a pull toward new rooms, a sense that your future wants updating even before anything outward moves. Both are real. And any natal planet near 20 degrees, Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra, is personally lit by this eclipse too. Let's have a look at your supporting cast, as I call it, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your seventh house of committed partnerships and binding contracts. And from 14 degrees Aries, it trines the eclipse, which means you make this new circle a real and lasting by committing through a one-to-one bond, choosing a steady partner in crime, signing the agreement, saying the durable yes to one person who anchors the whole new world. Jupiter, in the meantime, at 9 degrees Leo, sits right in your 11th house with the eclipse, pouring growth and luck straight into the seed. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is tender. Plan this not to be applauded, not for the likes or the status of a shiny new crowd, but because the goal is truly yours. Release the version of you that just wants to be seen. Now, there are going to be 3 rewaterings of this eclipse. These are going to be your follow-up chapters, because Jupiter recrosses this exact 20 degrees of Leo eclipse point 3 times, each one relighting your 11th house and the eclipse themes. So the first time around October 6th, 2026, this year. This is a second wind on that new connection, a friend or group circling back with something concrete. Then next year, February 28, again, Jupiter at the same degree of the Leo eclipse. This is an offer maturing. The goal you named in August, now asking for a real commitment or a bigger stage. And then again, finally, on June next year, so June 6th, 2027, this is the third passing of Jupiter at 20 degrees. The seed is now visibly grown. You can finally see what this circle and this future have become. Watch these dates. They are your follow-up chapters. And then the pruning, as I call it. 16 days after the total solar eclipse in Leo, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces releases in your 6th house of daily work and routine. This is where you let go of a draining schedule or unhealthy daily habit, clearing the tired routine that was quietly stealing energy your new goals will need. Prune gently. The solar plant is still the star of this month. So reflect on this. Which future am I actually building toward? And are the people around me the ones I want walking into it with me? So do this during the eclipse window, roughly August 5th, August 19th. Say yes to one invitation or reach out to one person outside your usual circle and write down a single clear goal for the year ahead. Scorpio, this is a career reboot at the top of your chart. This total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo lands at the very peak of your chart, your 10th house of career, reputation, public standing, and the direction your whole life is pouring. This is Leo territory up here. Visibility, leadership, being known for something that carries your name. And here's the honest part. The eclipse squares your Scorpio rising, Sun or Moon. So it doesn't arrive as a gentle nudge. It feels like public career level friction, a pressure at the top of your chart that presses down on you personally until you make a bold move you've been circling for months. What it plants, it's a genuine career reboot, a new professional identity seated right where the world can see it. So let's go through some of the ways that this might show up for you. It could be a title, a promotion, or public role suddenly lands on the table for you. And it comes with a forced choice. Step up now or watch it pass to someone else. The friction is real, so is the doorway. Or it can be something in your public reputation that cracks under pressure. A project you are the face of that hits turbulence. And pushing through it visibly, it's exactly what levels you up. Or you quit, resign, or hand in notice on a career path that has quietly stopped being yours because the square won't let you keep pretending it fits. Or it could be a boss, a board, or authority figure that applies a real hit, a hard conversation about your direction, and you leave it having claimed more ground, not less. Or you launch the thing with your name on it, the business, the portfolio, the public bid, before you feel ready, because the eclipse makes a later impossible. Now, how strongly will you feel it? Degrees matter. So if your ascendant or a personal planet sits within about 2 degrees of 20 degrees Scorpio, or right on 20 degrees Leo in this 10th house, this eclipse is not a mood, it's an actual event. So expect a dated, name on the calendar career moment this month. The call, the offer, the exit, the announcement. It will feel like the ground moves under your public life in real time. If your rising or planets sit in the early or late degrees of Scorpio, so far from 20 degrees, you feel it more as a slow burn atmosphere, a steady humming sense that your direction is being renegotiated behind the scenes, decisions ripening quietly rather than detonating. Both are the eclipse working. One is loud, one is patient. And if you have any natal planet near 20 degrees Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra, that planet is personally lit by this eclipse too. Now, let's have a look at your supporting cast, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your 6th house of work, systems, health routines, and the daily grind done properly, and it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. That trine is your secret weapon. The big public seed becomes real and lasting only when you commit to the unglamorous engine underneath it. The schedule, the reps, the health habit, the reliable process you show up for every ordinary day. Build the machine, and the reputation holds. Meanwhile, Jupiter sits in your 10th house, right on the eclipse at 9 degrees Leo, pouring growth, luck, and expansion straight into this career point. But this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, so the deepest instruction is subtle. Plan this and not to be applauded, but because it is truly unmistakably yours. Release the version of you that only wants to be seen, and the real standing arrives on its own. And now there are going to be 3 rewaterings of the solar eclipse. These are your follow-up chapters. So the story doesn't end on the eclipse day. Jupiter recrosses the exact 20 degrees Leo point of the eclipse 3 times, relighting your 10th house each pass. This is your future trigger timeline to watch. First is October 6th, 2026. The seed gets its second wind. A first result, a bit of visible traction that says you were right to move around. Then the next one, February 28th, next year, 2027. Again, the offer or role matures. What was tentative becomes concrete, negotiable, real. And then finally, around June 3rd, 2027, so next year, you see the seed grown. The new professional identity standing on its own, recognized, no longer something you are defending. Mark these dates. They are when August's bold move quietly pays out. And then we have 16 days after the solar eclipse in Leo, the total solar eclipse in Leo in August 12th, 16 days after that, we have the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces in your 5th house of romance and creativity. A love story or creative chapter that has truly run its course. It's ready to be set. Sagittarius, a new horizon opens. This total solar eclipse lands squarely in your 9th house, the house of long journeys, higher study, publishing, teaching, faith, and the far edge of your map. With the eclipse in Leo here, the themes come dressed in Leo colors. Boldness, warmth, the courage to be seen, believing in something. And because this eclipse makes a flowing trine to your Sagittarius rising sun or moon, it does not arrive as a wall you must climb. It feels like a door swinging open on a hinge you did not know was oiled. The horizon simply widens, and something in you leans toward it before your mind catches up. What it plants here is a new belief, a new destination, a new body of knowledge that could reroute the next several years of your life if you say yes. So there are some ways that this may show up for you. Let's see. It could be an invitation to travel or relocate that drops into your inbox during this window. A residency, a conference abroad, a friend's spare room in a city you have quietly dreamed about. The trine means it comes easily. Your only job is not to talk yourself out of it. Or it could be a course, a degree, or teacher that appears at the perfect moment. You find the program, the scholarship, or the mentor who makes the big subject suddenly feel learnable. It could be a publishing or platform door that opens for you. An editor replies. A podcast asks you on. A proposal you half abandoned gets a green light. Your words are meant to travel further this month. Or a shift in what you believe. a book, conversation, a place changes your inner compass. And the question you have carried for years quietly resolves into a direction. Or it could be a cross-cultural or legal expansion, a visa that clears, an international deal that moves, or a link with someone from a very different world becomes the bridge to your next chapter. How strongly you feel it? Well, the degree is everything. If your ascendant, sun, or moon is it's within about 2 degrees of 20 degrees Sagittarius, or if you have a personal planet right on 20 degrees Leo in this ninth house, this eclipse is not a mood. It is an actual event. So expect a real yes, a real ticket, a real acceptance letter, something with a date on it that you will remember by name. It can feel electric and slightly surreal, as though the universe finally answered the prayer you had stopped saying aloud. If your rising or planets fall in the very early or very late degrees of Sagittarius, you feel it more as a slow burn atmosphere, a growing restlessness for more horizon, a hunger to learn and roam that builds quietly and pays out over the season rather than in one dramatic week. Either way, it reaches you. And note, any natal planet near 20 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally lit by this eclipse too. Now, let's have a look at your supporting cast, as I call it, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your 5th house right now, the house of discipline, creativity, and real responsibility to a child or a beloved passion project. And at 14 degrees Aries, it trines the eclipse. That is how the seed becomes lasting. You make this horizon real by committing to the craft, showing up for the creative work, or the person who depends on you, and letting that steadiness anchor the expansion. Meanwhile, Jupiter, your own ruler, sits at 9 degrees Leo, conjunct the eclipse in your 9th house, pouring growth, luck, and appetite directly into what you plant. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the eclipse, the deepest instruction is quiet. Plant this not to be applauded, not to prove the doubters wrong, but because it is truly yours. Release the version of the dream that just wants to be seen chasing it. Now, there are going to be 3 rewaterings of this eclipse. These are your follow-up chapters, because Jupiter recrosses the exact 20 degrees Leo eclipse point 3 more times, or 3 times, relighting your 9th house each pass. Around October 6th, the first time, Jupiter is at 20 degrees, so you may get here a second wind. The plant you set in August suddenly finds funding, a companion, or a firm date. And then next year, around February 28, an offer matures. The course becomes enrollment. The trip becomes an itinerary. The manuscript becomes a contract. And then finally, on June 3rd, 2027, you can actually see the seed grown tall. You are living the wider world you pictured, teaching it, walking it, or building it. Watch those 3 windows. They are your future triggers. And then 16 days after the total solar eclipse in August, on August 28, 2026, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces releases in your 4th house of home and roots. An old home or a long family cycle is quietly completing. A chapter under your feet ends, so the new horizon has room to grow. Let it go gently. The solar planting is the real headline here. So reflect. If no one would ever know I went, which horizon, which place, study, or belief would I still say yes to? So do this. During the eclipse window, take one irreversible step toward the bigger horizon. Book the ticket, submit the application, or email the teacher before you let the doubt talk. Capricorn, a deep, transformative new bond. This eclipse lands in your 8th house, the deep, private vault of shared money, intimacy, the other people's resources, and the kind of transformation that changes you from the inside out. With the eclipse at 20 degrees Leo, all that Leo fire pours into your most vulnerable, merge with someone territory. Trust, joint finances, inheritance, the things you can't do entirely alone. But here's the texture. It makes a minor aspect to your Capricorn ascendant, sun, or moon. And that will feel like a strong current pulling at a slightly wrong angle. Something powerful arrives and it doesn't quite fit the life you built. It asks you to recalibrate rather than simply say yes. Why the eclipse plans here? It's a deep, transformative new bond, a merging of resources, bodies, or trust that reshapes you. So, some of the ways that this may show up for you. It could be an odd timing conversation about money you share with someone, a partner's debt, a joint account, a loan that surfaces at an inconvenient moment and needs a small, uncomfortable adjustment before it can settle. Or it can be an intimacy that deepens in a way that doesn't slot neatly into your careful schedule. So you feel the pull towards someone, and the awkwardness is that it asks you to recognize your guarded routine to make room for it. Reorganize your routine. Or it could be an inheritance, a payout, a tax refund, or a resource that isn't strictly yours that lands. Welcome, but with strings, paperwork, or caveat that means you can't just pocket it and move on. Or it could be a psychological knot that you've carried, a fear around control, money, or letting someone all the way in that rises to the surface and quietly asks to be transformed rather than managed. Or someone offers to invest in you, back you, or pool resources. The offer is real and generous, but the terms feel a half size off, and you will need to tweak them before it truly fits. Now, how strongly you feel it? Degree is everything here. So if your ascendant, sun, or moon, or a personal planet sits within roughly 2 degrees of 20 degrees Capricorn, or right on 20 degrees Leo in this 8th house, the eclipse doesn't whisper. It arrives as an actual event this month. A real conversation, a real transfer, a bond that visibly begins or ends, and you will feel it in your body as a before and after. If your degrees sit in the early late or late stretch of Capricorn, so far from 20 degrees, You feel it instead as a slow burn atmospheric mood, a deepening seriousness, a sense that something under the surface is rearranging itself, quiet but unmistakable, unfolding over weeks or rather than in a single moment. Either way, it touches you. And any natal planet near 20 degrees Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is also personally lit by this eclipse. Now, let's have a look at, as I call it, your supporting cast, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your fourth house, home, family, duty, and the laying of solid foundations. And it trines the eclipse from 14 degrees Aries. That's your quiet superpower. You make this seed real and lasting by grounding it, committing to the way you commit to building a home, steady, private, brick by brick. Handle the shared money and the deepened trust like foundation work, not a gamble, and it holds. Meanwhile, Jupiter sits in your eighth house right alongside the eclipse, pouring growth and generosity straight into this bond. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is this: plant this not to be applauded, not to prove you're desirable or in control, but because it is truly yours. Release the version of you that just wants to be seen. Now, there are going to be 3 re-waterings, or as I call them, follow-up chapters of this eclipse. Because Jupiter crosses the 20-degree Leo eclipse point 3 times, relighting your 8th house each time. This is your future trigger timeline to watch. Around October 6, 2026, expect a second wind of this eclipse. The bond or the shared arrangement gets a fresh surge of momentum, or a resource you thought had passed circles back. Then, around February next year, February 28, the offer matures. Terms firm up. Trust is tested and proves itself. The money question finds its real answer. And then finally, Jupiter goes again 20 degrees on June 3rd. You now see the seed visibly grown. The merging that began as an awkward adjustment now reads as one of the most transformative, load-bearing bonds of your year. And then, 16 days after the total solar eclipse in Leo, on August 28, 2026, the Pisces partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees releases in your 3rd house of thinking and everyday conversation. So let an anxious thought loop or a stale, going nowhere conversation finally fall away. The mental static clears so the deeper bond can breathe. Small pruning. The solar plant is still the star of this month. So reflect on this. Where am I still holding control to feel safe when what this bond actually needs is my trust? So do this. During the eclipse window, have the one honest money or intimacy conversation you've been circling. Name the number, name the need out loud to the person it concerns. Aquarius, the eclipse faces you across a partnership. This total solar eclipse at 20 degrees Leo lands squarely in your 7th house, the house of marriage, partnership, and your closest one-to-one bonds. lit now with all that warm, generous, spotlight-hungry Leo drama. And because Leo sits directly across the wheel from your Aquarius rising sun or moon, this is an opposition, a direct hit, a face-to-face reckoning. It doesn't feel like something happening inside you. It feels like something walking through the door as another person. What the eclipse plants here is a new chapter in how you join your life to someone else's. So, a couple of ways this may show up for you. Someone says the thing out loud, a partner, a business collaborator, or a person you've been circling for months finally names what you are to each other, and you have to answer. Or there could be a proposal, a signed agreement, or a let's make this official, a commitment arriving through another's hand, whether that's a ring, a contract, or a handshake that changes everything. It could be a mirror moment. Someone reflects back a truth about how you show up in a relationship. What you've been avoiding seeing about yourself lands through their eyes. Or it could be an old partnership that reaches its either or a confrontation that has been quietly building suddenly needs a real decision. And the person across from you forces it into the open. Or it could be a new ally simply appearing, a match, a client, a co founder. And the meeting feels strangely fated, and if they were sent to complete the thing you couldn't do alone. Now, how strongly would you feel this? Well, if your ascendant sun or moon sits at 20 degrees Aquarius or within 2 degrees from 20 degrees Aquarius, or in between 20 and 22 degrees Aquarius, or if you have a personal planet right on or within 2 degrees of 20 degrees Leo in this seventh house, the eclipse arrives as an actual event this month. A named partnership beginning or ending, a real person, a real date on the calendar. It will feel unmistakable, almost cinematic. If your rising or key planets fall in the early or late degrees of the fixed signs instead, you feel it more as an atmosphere, a slow burn shift in the weather of your closest bond. A sense that something in how you relate is being quietly rewired over the weeks around it. Either way, it reaches you. And any natal planet near 20 degrees of Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra is personally wired into this eclipse too. Now, let's have a look at the supporting cast, as I call it, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your third house. Focused communication, study, a serious mental project. And from 14 degrees Aries, it trines the eclipse. Here. That means you make this partnership seed a real and lasting by committing to the conversation, the honest talks, the written agreement, the disciplined follow through in words. Jupiter at 9 degrees Leo, right alongside the eclipse in your seventh house, pours growth and generosity over the whole thing. The door swings wide. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is quieter. Bind yourself to this person or this promise, not to be admired for having a partner, but because the bond is truly yours. Release the version of you that just wants to be seen coupled up. Now, there are going to be 3 rewaterings of this eclipse, as I call it. These are your follow-up chapters. Jupiter, crosses the 20 degrees Leo eclipse point 3 times, relighting your 7th house at each pass. First, around October 6th, 2026. The partnership catches a second wind, a reconnection, a warming, a first real test passed together. Then, around next year, February 28, 2027, again Jupiter starting at 20 degrees in Leo. The commitment matures now. An offer firms up, terms get better, the thing you planted starts to hold weight. And around June 3rd, 2027, this is the last time we see Jupiter entering 20 degrees Leo. That's the third watering of this eclipse. Now you see it visibly grown. The union or alliance is simply part of your life now, no longer a question. Watch for those dates. And then, as I call it, the pruning. 16 days after the total solar eclipse in Leo, on the 28th of August 2026, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces releases in your 2nd house of money and self-worth. Let go of the old low story that says you are worth less than the partnership you're building. That outdated price tag has no place in what's beginning. Reflect. Who is the person standing across from you right now, and what are they showing you about how you love and commit? So do this. During the eclipse window, have the one honest conversation you've been postponing. Say the real thing to the one person it's about. Pisces, a new rhythm for work and health. This total eclipse at 20 degrees Leo lands in your 6th house, the house of work, health, service, and the small daily routine that quietly runs your life. Leo brings its warm, dramatic, wholehearted flavor here, which means that ordinary stuff, your schedule, your body, your to-do list, suddenly wants to be lived with heart instead of grind. But this eclipse also makes a minor angle to your Pisces rising sun or moon. The awkward 150-degree contact that never quite lines up. It feels like wearing a shoe that's half a size off. Nothing is wrong exactly, yet you keep noticing the pinch. What it plants is a new rhythm, a recalibration of how you work and how you care for your body, one that asks you to change your pace before your body changes it for you. Now, a couple of ways this may show up for you. It could be a subtle, odd timing nudge that you cannot ignore, a nagging symptom, a stiff shoulder, a sleep pattern that's off. Small, but it keeps tapping until you finally book the appointment or change the habit. Now, a quincunx tweak at work. Your role isn't wrong, but the rhythm of it is. So you realize you need to shift your hours, drop one task, or restructure your mornings so the days stop leaking energy. Or it could be a helpful door that swings open through discipline, a steady new routine, a trainer, a nutritionist, or a work system that finally clicks and starts compounding quietly in your favor. It could be a daily service opening. You're asked to help, mentor, or take on a practical responsibility that fits you oddly well once you adjust to it. The fit improves the moment you stop resisting the change. Or your body sends the memo before your mind does. An energy dip or a craving for order that says gently but firmly, the old pace is done. You adjust the routine, and within days, you feel more like yourself. Now, how strongly will you feel it? The degree is everything here. So if your ascendant sun or moon or any personal planet sits within about 2 degrees of 20 degrees Pisces, or right on 20 degrees Leo in the 6th house, this eclipse arrives as an actual event this month, a real health decision, a job change, a routine that visibly breaks and rebuilds. You will feel it in your calendar and possibly in your body, sharp and specific. If your degrees fall in the early or late part of Pisces, it's quieter, a slow burn mood, a low background hum that whispers something about how you live your days needs tuning. So don't mistake quiet for absent. The atmospheric version simply unfolds over weeks instead of hitting in one moment. And if you have any natal planet near 20 degrees Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, or Libra, that planet is also personally lit by the eclipse. So expect its themes to speak up. Now, let's have a look at the supporting cast, as I call it, starting with Saturn. Saturn is moving through your 2nd house, building tangible worth, disciplined earning and saving. And at 14 degrees Aries, it trines the eclipse beautifully. That means you make this new rhythm a real and lasting by anchoring it to something concrete. A steady routine tied to real income, a health investment you actually pay for, a schedule that protects your earning capacity. Commit to your resources, and the seed sets deep roots. Meanwhile, Jupiter at 9 degrees Leo sits in your 6th house, right alongside the eclipse, pouring growth and generosity over your work and well being. More opportunity, more capacity, more good landing in your daily life. And because this is the Leo South Node side of the axis, the deepest instruction is this: build a new routine because it is truly yours, not to be seen doing it or applauded for it. Release the version of you that needs an audience for its effort. All right, now there are going to be 3 rewaterings of this eclipse, your follow-up chapters. So Jupiter will cross this exact 20-degree Leo eclipse point 3 more times, each return relighting your 6th house of work and health and the themes of the eclipse. The first one it's on October 6th this year. This is a second wind that arrives. The routine you started in August catches momentum, and you feel the payoff of showing up. And then next year, February 28, 2027, an offer or arrangement matures. A work opportunity, a health improvement, or a service role that's grown quietly finally becomes tangible. And then finally, around June 3rd, next year as well, so June 3rd, 2027, the 3rd time Jupiter crosses the 20-degree Leo. You see the seed visibly grow now. The new rhythm is simply how you live now, no longer effortful. Watch those days. They are your future triggers. And now, let's go back to August. 16 days after the total solar eclipse in Leo, on 28th of August, the partial lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Pisces releases in your 1st house, a tired self-image and an old version of you that has done its work. Let that worn-out identity fall away so the fresher, better rested you can step forward. The solar plant is still the start here. This is simply the clearing that makes room for it. So reflect. Which part of my daily routine is quietly draining me? And what would it feel like to live my ordinary days with more heart? So do this. During the eclipse window, roughly between 5th and 19th of August, pick one concrete change to your rhythm. A new wake time, a booked checkup, one task removed from your day, and start it this week, not someday. So there they are, two eclipses, 16 days apart. The Leo sun plants a bold new beginning. The Pisces moon prunes what's already finished. Plant, then prune. Release the hunger to be seen and applauded and grow toward the future. To find out if these touch your chart, come to ivastrology.com. The free weekly calendars show whether they land on your planets at 20-degree Leo or 5 Pisces. Then watch my main August forecast sign by sign and the North Node video for Leo Aquarius story underneath. Tell me your sun and rising below. I read all of them. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. I'll see you under the shadow.